Heyo, it is Shania, and welcome to the book talk. This month we are doing Not a Happy Family by Shari Lapena, if I say that right. Hopefully, please. Shari, just add us on Twitter if we didn't say that right. Call us out. So this book, it started off with the most dramatic prologue I've ever seen. So it's basically a family and everyone's keeping secrets, and especially the dead, which is exactly how the prologue just jumps into it. You get this whole it was almost like reading a scene, like the opening scene of CSI when you see the dead people and you're like, oh, who done it? Who done it? And then it just leads in with the with the Merton. Am I saying that right? Merton family. And they live in, what is it? Alsfield, New York. New York, which is probably somewhere on Long Island because they compared it to the Hamptons, I imagine. But we will start discussing. Everyone say hey.
Hey, I'm Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Tony.
All right. So, and you'll definitely get to know us more as we go on and do this and record. This is our first one. So the Merton family, they live in Brecken Hill. There's the mama, Sheila, and the dad, Fred. And you know from the prologue right away, they're dead. But we don't know how yet. We don't know who, what, why. We need to figure out the motive and all of that. Mm-hmm. They're wealthy, so that obviously gives you one clue as to why they might have died, because money is the source of the root of all evil, says the people. And so we get into the book and we're just introduced to a whole bunch of characters. There's Dan, who's the middle child. We meet him first, and he's having he's having financial problems, and he's married to Lisa. And then we meet Irina, who's the cleaning lady. And the way that I read that when they introduced Fred, who we find out is Fred's sister, Audrey. Mm-hmm. Is that the name, Audrey? When we meet her, I was kind of like, who is she? But then it all came together. I guess they have different last names, or she was married or something. And then we meet the oldest sister, Catherine, who, is like the cookie cutter star girl of the family. Like, she's the pearls and the doctor, the one the parents are really proud of. Like, yes, one was right.
Are they?
Are they? This book has like a looming sense of mystery over it. Like,
yeah, I especially like that we learn something, we learn something new every single chapter.
Yeah.
You think this family is dying and they're are rich in a mansion. And then Dan's whole problem, then in a couple chapters later you learn that the reason why he's all financially unstable is
because of the dad.
Because of the dad. And then the older sister, you think she's this perfect, everyone's so proud of her, but then the parents, or the dad is really at the center of
and it gives it. And the way it does it, it gives them all a motive. You can see either one, all of them. Because at first I'll go ahead and say I thought it was going to be Dan.
I still think
it was Dan. Dan is my number one suspect, just because of how everything just has tumbled onto him. Mm-hmm. And I really thought. Oh, go ahead.
My heart says Dan, because obviously that's and maybe it is maybe. I'm just thinking too much into it, but it's it's too obvious. I don't know. Catherine's being shady, in my opinion.
She is. Because she really, I feel like it wouldn't have hurt her case. The whole lying thing they're doing is just going to backfire.
I know.
Because even the detective was when Jenna was oh yeah, I left a couple minutes after, he was oh, I knew she was lying because the neighbor said she didn't leave till 8 p.m. So that whole not telling the truth thing is just not going to work in their favor, I don't feel like. Because I feel like Catherine, when he came to the office and was oh, where were you? What was your night like? She could have easily been oh, hey, we had a disagreement. I think the painting the picture of a perfect family is working against them.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they are the only suspects with the time of death and like the way everything was unfolding. Like they are prime suspects. So just like, plead your
And
case.
especially how like personal, because it at first looks like it's a robbery, because like the lamp is down and like some stuff is missing, but then like we had to talk about like I guess the overkill, right, on the dad.
Oh, the dad.
That was a little personal, like someone who just wanted to rob a house, not gonna like go
He
through
would
all
have just killed him quick. He probably would have just slit his neck and then kept going, but not the stab wounds.
It was like 10 times.
Like stabbing is personal.
Yeah.
Or that's what all the crime docs say.
Yeah, we are actually trained forensic analysis.
I have my BS
So we know everything.
in forensics.
Criminal Minds taught me everything I need to know. I don't need to go to school for this because I know. Just kidding, I don't know a thing.
I realize that I love the character of Irina just because she's that outside view, but like she's sympathetic. Because Audrey is an outside view, but she's too far removed for my liking. Like that's their aunt, and she's literally like, I hate all of you, you're brats.
But aren't they kind of bratty though?
Of course, they're entitled kids. I feel like it would be a disservice if they weren't bratty. It wouldn't
But
be
then also their
believable.
dad is so like evil.
And I think that's the difference, because you don't normally expect that. You feel like, oh, I'm gonna get daddy's company. Oh, dad's gonna like bankroll my party life.
They're all trying to compete with each other all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what Irina says. Like she sees that in them, and like I feel like she took care. Like even with the knife thing, about like how she probably washed the knife and put it back in the cutting block. I was like, okay.
Okay, hear me out. I'm still not convinced that she didn't do it. I still think she could have.
Yeah, because
I could see that.
But what would she gain from it though? Like,
but I think that's just the anger for her. Maybe she loves the kids so much.
Or like maybe, yeah. Sorry.
Or, no, go for it.
I was just saying, or maybe she knows something that they don't know yet, because like Audrey dropped that thing about the will, and so now, at that dinner, when all those secrets came out, Irina was just like, and then left and then came back.
Yeah, she definitely knows something because she is, I think, at that house more than the kids are there, like more than yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, with how everything unfolded, or so far, like the kids have got like Jenna. I feel like Jenna removes herself from her dislike from her dad, and she just shows up to the family event, causes a scene, makes a ruckus, and then goes back to the city to go be with whoever.
Big Ginny Humphrey vibes from Gossip Girl.
True, I can see that for sure. And then Catherine has a pretty like put together life. And this might just be my bias because I'm thinking it's Dan, but also I don't think Dan would have done it yet, just because he could have done it so long ago, you know what I mean? When his dad was sabotaging at work, sabotaging his career, when he sold the company, you know what I mean?
Danny's definitely the most like desperate, but he's also being shady. All of them are being shady because that part where his wife, or he was telling his wife that he was going in like all these job interviews, and then she was like, snooping around, and he was not going to those job interviews. But I think like it's just too obvious. Like I don't want to root for him because I'm just like, it has to be somebody else. Like it just can't be.
Yeah.
Like she's trying to make
all their spouses are looking at them now differently. They're all like,
they're all being shady. They're all being so shady.
They're all like, you did leave the house. Like Ted like is so, I don't know. Ted just seems great. Whatever. I'm romanticizing Ted.
What a
but he was just like, he's like, why did you lie? Like, he was the voice of reason. Like, Catherine, why? Like, I didn't understand it either. I was like, why did you lie? And then also, they all left their phone. So if they wanted, like, that lie is corroborated, because if they were like to look at cell phone towers and anything, the pings would only be from their house because they didn't have their phones on them.
Maybe the three of them just like,
Did it together.
what if like the three of them, you know how they're all just so like angry from like Easter dinner?
Mm-hmm.
And they all kind of like went to the house and they all just like found themselves there. That
And
could
like
be
pow
fun.
out in the driveway, and they were like, all right, let's go do this.
Yeah.
Or like one of them did it.
Or like in How to Get Away with Murder, how like technically Wes killed, spoiler alert, I guess, I don't know. Wes killed Sam.
Sorry, audience, if you
Yeah.
don't know.
But like they all had their own part in it. So like all of them were just guilty by association. Or not, I mean that is actually a crime. Like what is it like
Yeah, that's what it's called.
yeah. So
Or an
maybe
accomplice. I think it's more
yeah, maybe that
appropriate.
type of vibe, but Audrey, I don't know. What if like Audrey, is it Audrey or Aubrey?
Audrey.
Okay, what if Audrey kind of like teamed up with Irina?
Okay,
No.
but that was a eerie thought. I was like, did she send a hitman on her brother? Because the way that she was like, I'm getting rich, but too bad someone has to die. I literally wrote that down because I was like, what? At first,
Yeah,
I did not know what that meant because
and
I
it's
didn't
just
know who she was in relation to the family. And then once I found out it was her brother, that's the Fred that was her brother, because this is why I had to write down all the names. I was like, that's the Fred that's her brother. I was like, what? And the way that she came into that family meeting, like guns blazing, like, haha, guess what? I'm getting half of the like half of everything. Joke's on you.
The
Like,
entire.
that was all like,
yeah,
but your
and
brother just died.
it's also just interesting how like all of them are being so like hypocritical towards just everyone about how like, oh, you guys, like he's dead, like, let's not focus on the money. But
They've
everyone involved is like thinking about the money. Even Aubrey,
yeah,
Miss
they've
A
all
girl.
said shady stuff.
They're all like being like way too enthusiastic for me about the money. But I think it does kind of go back to how like awful Fred
Yeah,
is
Fred
to
sucks.
them. Or maybe Fred was like different towards them. I don't know. I just like how this book challenges like the idea of family, I guess. How it's,
Mm.
yeah, it's his dad, but like at what cost? Like he's rude, like he's literally evil. Like why did he have to tell Catherine like, oh, where's my grandbaby?
Yeah.
And the
Um,
fact that she couldn't even like tell her dad, like, oh, like, like,
yeah,
hey,
I'm having
I'm
trouble.
struggling with infertility.
Yeah,
It just that also shows, because like obviously that's a touching subject, but like you would be able to tell your parents that
Yeah.
type of thing,
yeah.
because if they've asked, and like he just threw it in her face, like, you're a doctor and whatnot, but where are my grandsons? It's
Like she's
kind of like,
Yeah.
okay,
Selfish.
in dermatology is like the hardest, fun fact, the hardest like residency to match into.
mm. So she had
Like
to put
it's
in work.
yeah, like it's not easy to become a dermatologist because it's such a small, I guess, area
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you have to like I saw this TikTok. Yeah, so they're reliable. Of how like if you want to go to dermatology, you basically need to have like years of like research experience in like dermatology and a bunch of stuff that like if you have to like start in high school basically like just like researching stuff. And somebody commented like, yeah, somebody in my class literally like designed like a medicine or something like while they not even like while they were in med school. So it's also just interesting how
He doesn't see that as anything.
just like the grandchildren child.
And I want to touch on the mom, because I feel like this is not anything new. with that type of situation where you have like a really aggressive like father depiction, and then the mom like doesn't say anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she just lets him run over everyone.
Yeah. Because I mean, who's to tell? Like, we haven't seen that side. We haven't gotten that far in the book, but like he might be treating her poorly as well, and she doesn't know how to cope. And the little things they're pointing out about her, like she's on antidepressants recently, and how she was like talking a lot at dinner, and the kids all like were like, something's wrong with mom. My biggest thing is like, I wish they had stayed and had a little bit more of the dialogue.
That was so weird to me because they all just like left.
I know that
Irina left too. She was like,
I feel like Irina,
wow.
I think they were blindsided by the house because Irina, like, obviously they cut her hours down to the 2 days a week already from when she was living there and raising the kids.
Yeah.
So she's probably feeling like, and the dad's like, oh, she'll serve in a lesser capacity than she already has been. Like, you just raised your kids.
Yeah,
they say that.
Kids do.
And she's so dependent on them because like she hasn't had time, obviously.
Yeah.
She's too busy taking care of like 3 kids and like a whole house. Like
her whole life was built around this one family. That would be terrible.
Yeah. My mom talking. Can y'all hear her?
No.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
So I was just I really wish they had stayed in that fight a little bit longer because I wanted to see. I know it was hard. Like Ted called the whole like let's leave Catherine, made that decision, and then Dan was already upset before, so I knew he wanted to get out of there. But I wish they had like stayed a little bit longer because I wanted to know what else the dad had to say, and then also what else the mom had to say. But maybe that'll come back later if Catherine got to speak to her.
I really like watch me just be completely wrong, but I really do think all of them did like just they all had like a little powwow type thing, because like that fight was like too important, or like the topic I guess was like too important, and like everything was just too, the timing is just like too weird for it to just be like some random person. I feel like they all had to like come back and like kind of say their piece. Because Jenna was like not wanting to leave. Dan is.
That's what she said at the end.
Yeah, Dan is Dan, and then Catherine like literally like couldn't sleep. So, like they all had to kind of. I think they all kind of met up because they're in a public, not public, but like obviously they're not gonna fight like that, like in front of like Irina or their like spouses slash little Jenna's boyfriend thing. They might be a little bit more reluctant, but if they were like all like it's just the family, like I kind of want to see that dynamic, like nobody, like just Fred, what's the lady's name?
Sheila,
Dan and Catherine and Jenna, just like how they are with like no one but just them. I feel like that'd be a really interesting dynamic, and I hope they explore that a little bit more.
Okay, who is the random Rose character?
Yeah, I don't know.
They said, well, I read ahead. And Rose is Catherine's best friend, and Ellen Cutter is Audrey's friend, is her mom.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm not sure how they're connected, because you remember Rose was being all frantic and weird and like, oh, she's in so much trouble now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
What if Dan has been going, instead of going to his job interviews, going to go meet up with Miss Ellen?
Miss Rose.
Miss Rose. And then
that is weird. But also, I feel like Dan is everyone's painting Dan as this like emotionally weak and fragile person. But then that made me mad when Lisa went and looked in his calendar and found no interviews or meetings. Like, what is he doing?
Yeah. He's gotta be
Like
doing
what?
something.
Like just getting up and getting dressed in a suit. Like he's just trying to have a productive day doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like that made me upset for Lisa. And the fact that he's like, oh, I don't want you to work because, we're supposed to be like this upstanding family or whatever. But it's like, no, you're not. You are in debt. And wouldn't you rather your wife work than to go ask your dad for money who doesn't like you? He literally sold his company instead of giving it to you.
Yeah, that was crazy to me.
And then his company didn't even let him on, like let
And
him
it's like
continue working there.
most parents like build all that stuff so they can give their family like generational wealth, and it's like he's like, nope, y'all ain't getting nothing.
I know. What if like I'm about to say something controversial. What if like Fred is like not in the wrong? Like, because it's like kind of like an unreliable narrator, So like obviously we're on the side of the kids because I'm like, man, fuck Fred, like he's rude. Obviously what he said to Catherine is kind of like,
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know
low.
how maybe that doesn't help my case. But other stuff, it's like, why is Fred like that though? Like what
Yeah.
did he go through?
Yeah,
Maybe
I think
obviously
Audrey will probably talk more about that. But also even Ellen said that it was unnerving how much, I don't remember what part that was
I
in.
just forgot
Then she
that.
didn't like how much she was talking about her brother, like how happy she was talking about her brother and all the inheritance,
Yeah,
even though
I
she
forgot
just passed.
that this it kind of okay, my Kindle just decided to like not work. Okay. That they said something and I highlighted it that I was like, wait, what's going on here? Let me yeah. So this is when Audrey is like wants to just go talk to them and how when she told them that half of the money is gonna go to her and that he just changed his will like last week, um Audrey says about the three kids. She sees them now through new eyes. She's never really had to consider it before. But now she thinks about the family taint, the streak of psychopathy, whatever, that has run through the Merton family. She wonders if it lurks hidden inside one of them.
Yeah. Could be Dan.
So maybe it's some type of like, if you don't give me whatever, I'm gonna tear you down. So
Like
now I get where you're coming from. Like maybe Fred has some things in his own past that like Audrey knows about, and so it's like, let me rid myself of all these assets and all these like this high life that I have, just in case those things come up. I have less to lose.
Yeah. Or if he just like thinks, I don't know, like I would feel, I guess if I was like a parent and I had a lot of money and my kids just saw me as like a little piggy bank, I'd be like, you know what? Bye. Like, bump y'all. Like, go, you've relied on me your entire life and now you guys are like adults, but like
Well, that's what
just
they were
really,
trying to do to Jenna.
yeah.
Cut her off. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like they all have a path though. They're not like, Jenna is the most freeloading, but she is an artist. Like she has a talent, a profession, and something she's getting into. And like, her parents are wealthy, so she can explore that more freely and focus all her time into being artists. And then Dan went and got his MBA. That's huge. Thinking that he was going to come take over the company, and that didn't work out for him. And I mean, Catherine's a doctor, for crying out loud. So I feel in some sense like they did work really hard to establish themselves, and then they were just hoping, like, Catherine's
just kind of
hoping
like
that she gets the house
maybe
when her
just
parents pass on.
focusing too much on like themselves instead of the family, if that kind of makes sense. Like Just like,
Yeah.
okay, like I'm gonna go be a doctor, like I'm gonna go get my MBA, or I'm gonna be like an artist. And
Mhm.
hey, dad, I'm not, or like parents, I'm definitely not gonna go. Like I don't want to be involved with y'all in any way. But also, like, who paid for his MBA
Yeah.
and who paid for Catherine's med school? You know, like that type of, I guess, privilege probably made them like not the. I would say like just ungrateful maybe, and so once that it's kind of like taken away from them, they're just like, what do we do now?
Yeah. I think I liked what the one thing the dad said that I agreed with is like no expectations, no disappointment when he said that
Yeah,
statement. And I was
yeah.
like, yep, retweet. We can say that more often.
Mm,
Because they were expecting, they had all these unspoken, they just had these assumptions made. Like Catherine's like, oh, I'm gonna get the house. And like everyone knows it, what they're all feeling, but no one has said it out of their mouth. Like Dan assumed he was gonna get the company. Like I'm the business major. Like I've been working for the company for so long, so this is what I'm gonna get.
yeah,
And Catherine was like, this is what I'm gonna get. And then Jenna is just, you're just gonna bankroll my lifestyle.
yeah. But like, do we know that Dan was like good at his job?
No, we
Like,
don't. And the only side we've seen is that the dad would sabotage him the whole time he was
yeah.
there.
Yes, it's like, are they working hard? I don't know. I mean, I think Catherine does work hard. It's kind of hard to like, become a doctor and like be
Yeah.
at it.
I think that, and see, that's the only thing Catherine wanted from them. Why she enjoyed Easter, and like Ted was like, why do we have to go to this? You know how it's going to be. And she was looking forward to it. She admired that lifestyle. She had aspirations for that.
Yeah.
So I feel like her standpoint, like I feel like she was coming from the most purest place. I really, right after the bat, like when Catherine and Ted left and Dan and Lisa left, I thought Jake and Jenna would have done it because like, Jake's some random dude and she's
Yeah.
got her lover because they were gonna cut her off.
I
Yeah.
think she also could have like tried to defend her siblings too, just
Yeah,
like how
'cause she
dare
would
you
she
say
would
that
be the one. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't really stick up for each other, which I think is really interesting because like when he said that comment about her not having a baby, they all just like left.
They were just like
Y'all hear something? Because I don't. I'm out of here. Um, and I guess like that notion of family comes back because it's like, aren't y'all family? And like, let's say your dad, because you kind of see that dynamic sometimes, like the parent or like the dad is like the way, super like
Yeah.
just the way Fred is, I guess, like controlled.
the
I don't know, control.
tyrant.
The tyrant, exactly. And then the mom just kind of puts up with it, but then usually you just see like the siblings are always there for each other, and they kind of like that's how they are able to, survive and like go through all those family dinners, but they all kind of just like don't really like each other. That's like the vibe I got from them was that they're all kind of like,
Yeah.
Competing, yeah.
yeah. So it's just kind of like I
And so,
wonder.
and so I'm like competing for what? Because
I know
I feel
because they
like,
all want. Sorry, they all want like different things
yeah.
in
And
life.
also like none of their parents, they say there was a favoritism, but like I don't think any of the parents like them any more or any less.
Yeah,
Like like if the mom is, because I don't get how they'll say favoritism, but what does that mean? Because the dad was like, "Oh yeah, you're a doctor, but you don't have kids." So I'm like, you wouldn't say that to your favorite child. And then the only one I could see being a favorite was Jenna, really,
yeah. That's
because
kind of how it goes.
even when she brought Jake into the house, like the dad could have easily been like, it seems like they put up with a lot from her,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah,
can see how that would be a favorite
and that's how
type
like the
too.
youngest siblings always are. Like it doesn't matter like what they do, literally could like do anything, and they
Yep,
always be like
true.
the favorite. And then the middle child is always like I don't want to say fuck up, but like just the most irrelevant. And then the
Yeah.
oldest child is like overcompensating for just everyone. Um, but then yeah, like if they're competing, like why do they have this sense of competition when like they don't? I'm sure Jenna doesn't want that company.
Mhm.
And
And I
Catherine doesn't
feel,
want the company.
do you feel like she did that on purpose by putting Dan in the middle? Because you know
I
how
think
there'd
so,
be like
yeah.
the oldest son, I'm gonna take over dad's company. Like the show that comes to mind for me is ugh, oh my gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Ah, the Carrington Family. What show is that on Netflix?
Harrington family?
DW. Dynasty. Dynasty comes to mind when I think of that because it has Liz Gillies in it. She's really good. But Dynasty comes to mind about how like the older son went to business school and he was supposed to take over his dad's company, but then he fell off the rails. And that's I feel like that's more the dynamic you see. Like it'll be the oldest son and then the two younger daughters. Normally, the way the story would be written. So I think that was like a new look at it. Like what happens when it's the middle child and Catherine doesn't want the company because that wasn't her interest. And then he didn't get the company.
Mhm.
It's just a weird sibling dynamics.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And
I
it's
wonder
weird. I think their dad's death brought them together in a sense, just because they when you introduce them individually at the beginning when you start reading the book, and they introduce them individually, you can see how because like Catherine like looked at even before the dinner started, like Catherine looked at Jenna and was like there was a little bit of jealousy there between them.
Yeah.
And then when after the death, it's like they all were like, we're gonna meet at Dan's house, like come over here, like this is our game plan. And
but
that's
I
like the
think
most united front I've seen.
I would say they're like didn't really bring them closer together because like we keep talking about like yeah the dad died, but the mom is also dead and she's so innocent. Like they're literally all gathering around this money that isn't even theirs because like I definitely it's a trope like the rich dad dying and then the will
The
is like
kids
somebody else.
get the inheritance, yeah.
Um so yeah, I don't really think they're united and I guess not a happy family. Like they're united because obviously it's gonna look really shady if like the entire family like hates each other and the last time they all saw each other was like at a fight at Easter dinner, then like obviously that's gonna paint a super bad picture on like all of them. I feel like so I think they're just uniting for like the wrong reasons, which is this money that isn't even theirs. And if he's as rich as like they say he is or like that family is, shouldn't like 50% be like enough for the three of them to at least do something? Like yeah, it might not be enough for you to live on because how Dan was like, oh, like this money will be enough for me to never have to work a day in my life. But like I think you could you could still do good things with like that a little bit more money than you like. What money do you have now? Like
And I
none.
guess that's disheartening.
Yeah.
How Dan was like, oh, we'll have enough money and I'll never have to work again. So questions his motive. And then she sees that he wasn't taking interviews. So it's like,
Like he was literally already planning a vacation for him and his wife, and his
yeah.
parents just died.
Just died. Yeah. And say what you want about the dad, because like sure, let's operate under the assumption that like Fred is like inherently and intrinsically just like a bad guy.
The bad
Like,
guy.
what did the mom ever do to them? Like, what is she supposed to do? Like, obviously knowing the way the dad is, like, she's not gonna stand up against them, and they don't even help her. And then they're like, oh well, where's his money going? And then Catherine's kind of like, we have to plan a funeral. Like, I guess we have to plan a funeral now. Because like,
She's more stuck on like appearances and like, how is this gonna look? How's this gonna look?
yeah. But they still call the lawyer first either way. I'm like, damn, have the funeral.
Yeah, it was just crazy to me. They were all so relieved, and they don't really talk about their mom dying. It's more just like their dad was the biggest threat, and now they're just all relieved about it. So
I think it's just because of the big blowout fight they had.
yeah,
Like, when someone dies, and I feel like he was the dad was such a big part of their life. They probably lived their whole life trying to make him either to like rebel against him. Like, he's their motive in
yeah,
everything, I feel like. Catherine wants Catherine and Dan like are struggling to make him proud and gain acceptance, and then clearly Jenna is just rebelling against him and what he stands for and like the whole family. So that's her thing. But at the heart, everything, their motivation is him. And so now that he died, they see him as, oh, our obstacle's out the way and we're getting rewarded with this big payday. Go us. We made it.
Yeah, I guess everyone will get what they wanted at the end.
Yeah.
Will
It's
they?
like their big
This kind
their bully was defeated and now they're like woohoo, and like mom was just a casualty, like, oh sorry mom.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of the movie Knives Out. Has anybody seen it?
Yeah, I have.
You
That's a
should
good
watch it, Shania. It
Okay.
literally reminds me of that so much because like it's the same premise. Like the dad, or like the dad is like super rich, but he wasn't like mean to them, or was he?
I
I
don't
can't remember.
remember. I don't think he was.
He wasn't like that, like downright like, but he like threatened them, like he like changed the will last minute and like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
this whole
Oh my
thing.
gosh, wait, no, that's another no.
Chris Evans is in it. Ana de
I think
Armas.
I've heard of that movie, but I watched Aunt Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler's movie
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
where
yeah.
they're on the boat.
But yeah, like it kind of reminds me because they all, I guess, had their own. Like, I guess they could all make the case that like the dad or the grandfather slash dad was like being, like out to get them. But then when you like finally look at how he died and how it all happened, I don't want to ruin it for you, Shania. You like see that he's actually not this like
Awful person.
awful person. Like somebody else is the awful person.
Yeah.
So I think that movie is like tainting. Like I still think it's like I don't want to say it anymore because you should watch it though, Shania. Like you should watch it. Like
Okay. So what was your theory going forward? Let's do
okay,
theory
so
because
my
we're an
main
hour in.
Oh, really?
yes, yeah. Is this how we're gonna end and then see
Yeah,
next week?
for
Like,
our next chapters.
my theory, you know what? I'm gonna have two theories. I'm gonna have put my eggs in two baskets. So my first theory is that like Dan is just being way too shady for my liking, and I kind of like my little weird, like my Dan, and is it Ellen, right? Ellen or Rose? Rose is the mom,
Rose.
and Ellen
Rose is the daughter. Ellen is the mom.
yes. Okay, so I think Dan and Rose have something like going on. There's something weird. Like there's somehow some way connected because why are they being talked about? And Dan was drinking that
Yeah.
night, and it looks like he lives closest to. I mean, obviously he has to live close to them because he just works for their company, so he can't live like all the way in the city or like too far away from them because he like used to work there. So I do think like that's something weird that's happening. Dan and Rose, and I don't know, maybe they killed them, or maybe just Dan. But my other theory is that they all came to the house, like all the three kids came to the house at different times because they all had like their fair share of like just weirdness. No, my like thing just messed up. Anyways, they all had their fair share of like motives, I guess, and like reasons to be mad at them. And since they weren't able to like fully get all their anger out and they couldn't sleep or anything, I think they all kind of met up at the house. And then somebody maybe accidentally pushed someone into a knife. I don't know. And that's how it all went down. And they're trying to like cover it up.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
So either
Or
Dan
one for Dan
and
and then one for a group effort.
and another one is like it's a group cover up type beat.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know. I'm torn because I don't think Catherine killed them. I definitely don't think she did it. I think it's more that, okay, this is my theory. I think that Jenna and her boyfriend when they stayed back, something happened there. And when Dan and Catherine, I think when they left to go, they went back to the house and saw, and so they were all like, oh my gosh. And so they helped each other cover it up, or like that's where the knife got put back, because they were like, we gotta like try and help
Make it
Jenna.
look like a robbery.
Yeah, and and I think Irina, I don't think she was involved. I just think that she was just found them, but I think Jenna killed them, and that the other two are trying to hide it. Yeah.
Okay, so I think I have the 2-part theory. 2 eggs, 2 baskets.
All right.
Because my indecision won't let me be wrong. So of course, I think Dan did it just because Danny Boy just has too much weighing on him. He just has too much. Like, he was alcoholism, like deadbeat, kind of falling into a bad way, because it's either he committed the murder, or I really thought Dan was going to kill himself. That's where I thought that was going. Like, I thought Dan was going to off himself that night because he was seeming real hopeless. And then on a completely different side, in either scenario, I think Irina washed the murder weapon and put the knife back the morning when she came in, because it was so, the way she was like, oh yeah, I went to the sink to throw up and then I washed it down, that just sounded like a lie. Like, I was like, you were washing down your throw up when you just saw your priorities. You're like, bleh, the owners of these houses just died, but I'm gonna clean up the mess. That just didn't sound kosher. I was like, no, I'm not buying it. And then my other theory is that Aubrey, somewhere Rose is in this somehow, because she's feeling sick, losing weight, and Aubrey's best friend is Ellen. And Aubrey, the way that it was just an eerie line to read, that she's in bed sick, thinking about how she's going to be rich soon. Too bad someone has to die. Like, that just did not sit right with me. And it's her brother, and she's looking at the kids, and it's like, oh, I guess they really don't deserve what I'm getting out of this. And those are her nieces and nephews, and I'm like, what is the dynamic there? I don't think she did it, but she might have hired someone, and Rose is in on that as well. That's why Rose is being sick, because it's her best friend's dad she just helped kill. Her best friend's parents.
They all got a little psycho something going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like once we understand why the will was changed, once we understand all of what, because I wish they had stayed, because the dad was saying more stuff. He was like, I'm still in the house. Like, I feel like there was going to be a laundry list of things that he was going to say at dinner, but it just blew up.
Yeah.
And then they abruptly like put a pin in it, and the pin will never be taken out because now they're dead.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about how the mom had that thing to tell Catherine. So how do we know
Catherine
that,
went back to the house?
Yeah, how do we know that Catherine was telling the truth when she said, oh, she just had to talk to me about cutting off Jenna?
Yeah. I guess we will find out. Chapter 16.
She wrote this book. She really did.
Oh my god, how many chapters are in this? Like 50 something?
I forget.
I feel like I'm gonna get to a point where I just like will not be able to stop reading.
No, it's an easy read though. Like, once you're in, you're in.
Like, I'm like fully invested now. I'm like, now that we have
I was surprised at myself. Haven't read like a murder mystery before, and I like this side. I'm liking it.
I read one of them, and they're really like, once you get to the point where you just know you're like almost at the very end, like, who did this?
It's 63 chapters and an epilogue.
I don't know.
Should we just read the epilogue?
No. No.
You just read, because I feel like you just read the end and then backtrack and be like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Just Joshin. Okay, this has been so fun. I'm so happy to have done with this with you guys.
Woohoo.
So I'm gonna stop recording and then we can. Okay, I'm just gonna stop recording.